Hi there. Today we want to talk about asking questions in an interview. And too often, if you are returning to work after a break and your confidence might have taken a hit, you're not even thinking about
Right.
asking questions. You're thinking, I'm just going to sit there and be drilled questions. And that gets at the essence of how we describe an interview.
Yep.
An interview is a conversation, it's not an
Exactly.
interrogation. So today, we're going to give you 5 questions that you can ask, kind of tuck in your pocket to ask in an interview to kind of get that conversation started.
Yeah. And before we dive into those specific questions you
Yeah.
can ask, I think it's really important to understand that the most important questions to ask are the ones that you're really curious about. And that's going to give that organic coming at a question,
Exactly.
asking, that's going to make it feel real and authentic.
So let me give you an example of it. Let's say you and I are interviewing.
Yeah.
And Kelly's asking me tons of questions about how do you handle pressure? How do you deal with changes in leadership? How do you work under chaos? If I'm getting a series of questions like that, I'm thinking, okay, is this organization like going through a major reorg?
Yeah.
Are they being sold? And that would be the natural question to ask. Kelly, you've asked me a lot of questions about chaos, and clearly that's something I'm comfortable with, but I'm wondering, does that mean that there's some major changes coming here? And can you share them?
Yes. And I think, Susan, this is getting at something really important that often gets lost, especially if you're nervous, especially if you're a career relauncher and this maybe is your first interview out of the gate.
Yep.
You are so concerned about what it is that you're saying and what's coming out of your mouth, you stop actually listening
Yes.
to what the interviewer is saying to you. So this is a great opportunity to really be listening to what they're saying and what they're asking you, because it could be leading you down a path that you have a question about.
Exactly.
And that demonstrates confidence.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And a really good way to be an active listener is to have a notebook and a pencil, like old school. So in that example, as Kelly's asking me these questions, I could just write one word down, like, train wreck or chaos or something, to jog my memory to ask the proper question. It's a really good way to kind of keep yourself focused and listening.
Yeah. So the best questions are those organic ones that you really genuinely are curious about. But the single most important question are the closing questions that you ask. And if you want to take a deep dive into that, which you should, we have an entire YouTube video specifically around the close and the most important question.
That's a specific lesson.
Yeah.
And you need to know that because there's no more important question. We've already done videos on that. So today we want to focus on 5 other questions that will elevate your status as a candidate, that will give you some good information. And because you can prepare them ahead of time, they'll just give you a little more confidence when you're in the room.
Yeah. So the first one we wanted to highlight here today was, what does success look like in this role, the role that you're interviewing for, and how is it measured?
This reveals a whole lot. First of all, it shows whether the manager even knows what the role is. We've had so many students graduate from our program, take a job and go in. It's a completely different job.
Yes.
So this can really call out some red flags. It also shows that there is a way to measure work. Right? So back in the day when I started, I was in tech. And it was basically, if you looked busy and you were at your desk early and late, you were a great performer. But there was nothing really objective about it. There's no excuse now for that. We have too many tools available. So in this case, you're kind of holding the manager's feet to the fire to make sure that they know what you're supposed to do and know how to measure it. Yeah. Very good question.
Yeah. Another great question, and something that you should be curious about, is who will I work with most closely when I'm in this role? And will I have a chance to meet some of them in this interview process?
So, very progressive managers and companies will make that part of the interview process. We're seeing that a lot more, where later in the process, maybe as a final checkpoint, you're meeting with your team if you're a manager, or meeting with your peers if you're on a team. Great. But it's not common practice. So it's a great thing to ask, because if you're joining a team, feeling the energy of the people you're going to be working most intimately with, even if it's just in a 15-minute, round table, that's great. If you're taking over a team, allowing them or even suggesting that they have some input before you're hired is like a major win.
Yes.
For you, but also for them, feeling like they have some say in who's going to be leading them. So really great question. It shows a lot of confidence too.
And I think it's really important to remember you are shopping them as much as they are shopping you, and getting the vibe of who you're going to be spending many, many hours of your day with is really important. And so that's a really good, genuine question to ask. The next one is to know what's actually coming at you. And that's asking about the onboarding process. So what is the onboarding process for this position, and what performance goals will you be looking for me to meet in the next 90 days?
So this is another one. All of these show a lot of confidence. So that one shows you're imagining yourself in the job, which is always a good strategy. And it's also, again, holding that manager's feet to the fire.
Right.
Because they should know, how am I going to be training this person? And what is she going to be expected to do? This also will call out a red flag because they may not have an onboarding process.
Yes.
And if you're someone who really needs structure, who's maybe tech skills are dated or confidence is lapsed, you might not want to go somewhere where you're kind of doing that OTJ on the job, try to figure it out as you go.
Yep.
So this is, again, another one that really tests for culture and experience. Really important question.
Yeah. And then you want to get educated about the career path. So a great question to ask here is, what is an example of a career path for this position? This question, in my opinion, really demonstrates you're confident because you're already thinking about, I am moving up in this company.
That's right.
That's the underlying message.
And what makes it interesting is that most women don't ask it. Most women would never think it, particularly women who are returning to work.
We would just be grateful. We would just be grateful that we even got asked
That's
to
right.
do the interview.
That's right. And very often women aren't thinking of that next job ahead. Tons of studies have been done about men from the minute they start a job are already thinking about what's next, but women are not coached the same way. So this is a good one because it's holding you in check to make sure it's forcing you to look ahead, even if you're not naturally doing so. But it also makes that hiring manager think, okay, this is someone who's looking to move. She's ambitious. Again, she's confident. And these are the things that we want as hiring managers. So it's a win-win on either end.
Yeah. And then this is a great question for all of our career relaunchers out there. Can you provide examples of career relaunchers who have meaningfully advanced in this organization?
Now, in a big company, this is an easy question because if you're at a Fortune 500 company, there will be women who've returned to work.
Right.
If you're in a small local company with 25 employees, maybe not. So ask that question as Kelly demonstrated it in the big company. In a smaller company, you might want to just broaden the aperture a bit and make it more of a question about women.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me about some women who have really advanced in the organization, or who are the highest ranking women here? What's their role? Again, we talk a lot in our interviews about educating our audience, educating the person on the other side of the desk, educating them on common current business practice and trends is important. And sometimes you can do that by asking a question.
Yes. So there you have it. 5 smart questions to ask a hiring manager during an interview if you are a career relauncher. If you liked what you heard today, please like and subscribe. You can learn more about us and our programming at www.preparetolaunchu.com. Thanks.